We are back with another cat game. This time it's Copycat. This game has given me quite an emotional roller coaster if I'm being honest. Before you continue, this video will spoil the entire game, so if you want to play it for yourself, please do so before watching this video. This game is only 3 hours long. You're still here? Alright, let's dive right in. We start our journey on June 5th in a cat shelter. We're seeing through the eyes of an old woman, Olive, and she wants to adopt a cat. We can choose from a few different cats here, and I chose one that is close to an old cat I used to have myself, which made me feel quite connected to the cat right away. There's also this quick moment where the shelter personnel says this.
Didn't you come in a few weeks ago looking for a missing cat?
Darling, I won't blame you for thinking all us old ducks look the same.
Interesting. I guess it makes sense for the name of the game. We also fill out a little contract just before we head out onto a car ride to our new home. And here we get our name, Dawn. Though things aren't quite so rosy right off the bat. It seems like we are an untrusting cat with an yet unknown backstory. But it's easy to assume from our inner dialogue that we've been abandoned in the past. We do not trust Olive at all, and it seems like we would prefer to live as a wildcat instead. We have two types of inner monologue in this game. One is purely text and is directly related to what our cat is thinking. The other is this nature expert that tells us information about real wild cats' behavior and will respond to what we're doing while we play. It's a fun touch, honestly. I enjoyed listening to the guy.
They can spend hours waiting for the right time to strike. But today, it seems there's no gazelle. Pity.
Something I want to point out is that these devs definitely understand what makes it fun to play as a cat. You throw stuff off shelves, jump into boxes, unwrap toilet paper, all that fun cat stuff. Now, we're fighting bonding with Olive at every turn. Instead, we're choosing to make a mess and steal food. But as the plot progresses, Olive is getting sicker and sicker. In an emotional moment, Olive sits down next to us and tells us that she adopted us because she lost her old cat. One that looked just like us, and she was hoping to replace her with us. It seems she's really lonely and doesn't have much left in her life. I can't help but feel a little sympathy. She gives us a collar that we can customize and lets us into the garden. Here we get to explore a little. Not only that, but we also try and hunt a butterfly. It seems we're not the best hunter though, since we can't quite seem to catch it. Are we even cut out to be a wildcat? Maybe living as a house cat wouldn't be so bad for us. Even so, we're still not fully warmed up to Olive. But in a heartfelt moment, we snuggle up to her at night and realize that maybe we do want to stay. We slumber off into a dream. These dream sections are spread throughout the entire game. In this, we are a big leopard, usually running around, hunting rabbits, living out our wild side. While we dream, we also hear Olive on the phone with her daughter, May. May seems troubled and worried about Olive. She seems to constantly be checking in with her, trying to make sure her mother is okay. She criticizes Olive for picking up a cat when she can barely take care of herself. This all seems really hard on May, but for now we continue on our dream. A loud sound wakes us up in the middle of the night. The bedroom is empty, and after a little bit of exploration, we find Olive, laying on the floor in the bathroom. She fell, and next to her a bunch of pills. We comfort her in her ever-declining health, only to wake up in the morning in front of her locked bedroom door. We meow a bunch to wake her up, but to no avail. Well, let's try and get some food first. While scavenging the trash bin, we hear a nurse knock on the door, but also no response to her. So we continue to explore and decide to redecorate the house with our colorful paw prints. This is so much fun. I've always enjoyed stuff like this. We make sure to spread those little paw prints all over. After being a successful feline artist, we grab ourselves some food to reward our artistic labor and nod off. Some time must have passed since we had another dreaming section before we wake up from May coming into the house with some nurses. We hide under the couch while we witness Olive being taken away. Her health is at an all-time low, and May leaves with Olive and the nurses to take care of her, leaving us alone in the house. This doesn't quite sit right with me, but I'll get into that in a second. For now, we're guarding the house, vocalizing how much we miss Olive. Several days pass before Olive finally returns. all this time we have been alone, and the chaos in the house shows this perfectly. May, who returns with Olive, seems anything but happy about the devastation and promptly kicks us out. Here we're being revealed some crucial information.
Please leave my mum alone. She doesn't have the energy to look after a pet. I thought you'd have taken the hint last month when I kicked you out the first time.
So the original Dawn never actually ran away. It was May who threw her out on purpose. This is also why she didn't care about us being alone in the house. May clearly does not want us to be here, as she thinks that Olive has enough on her plate as is. Obviously we don't care what May thinks though. We just finally got used to our new home and we want to go back to Olive. So this is what we'll do. But as we try to crawl back through the fence to get back inside, we lose our collar. And hold on, who's that on the road? Is that the original Dawn? She really does just look like us, and as a result, Olive picks her up instead of us. Playing as the cat here is the first moment I felt a real knot in my gut. As you stand in front of the door and meow, trying to communicate your emotions, I really felt that. This feeling of unfair treatment, of just wanting to get back to your loved ones. We spy through the windows of the house to see what's going on. Olive is petting the original Dawn and she seems comfortable. A little later, we find May crying over the bills left by Olive's hospital visits, and in a moment of true desperation, May is holding a pillow above Olive's head. What this implies is pretty clear. She wants this all to end. She's overwhelmed by the grief, but she comes to her senses and hugs her mom. Determined to prove that we're still part of this family, we set off to catch a bird and share it with Olive. Maybe that will get her to let us back in. Now, this is a good moment to point out something that's been bothering me in this game. I am a huge bird nerd in real life, so I am probably among a tiny percentage of people who care or even notice this, but the birds in this game make no sense. This game takes place in Australia, and in the background you can hear Australian magpies. Makes sense. But throughout the game, you will see blue jays sitting around, which are famously an American bird. And now, we're hunting an eastern bluebird, which is also an American bird. And to top it all off, this American bird, living in Australia, has the voice of a European blackbird. It's a minor nitpick, but would it have been so hard for the devs to Google common Australian birds and implement those? This would have been a great opportunity to show off some of the native Australian birds and how outdoor cats pose a real threat to them. But yeah, instead we get a weird mess of birds that shouldn't exist in the way they do, and even after we catch a baby bird, it ends up flying off unharmed, which in reality doesn't really happen. After a cat catches a bird, it will almost always die from the bacteria. I should know, I was a bird vet assistant. At least the models look nice though. Anyway, the rant is over, let's get back to the game. We hunt the bird, and as I mentioned, we end up catching the baby, which we then use as an offering to Olive, who has been sitting on her porch reading a book. But Olive is acting strange. She's acting as if she doesn't recognize us, saying that we look just like her cat. You do remember that you adopted us because of your last cat, right? That there are two of us now? Is this dementia kicking in? She shoos us off, but we're persistent and just stand by her door for the entire day. This is honestly heartbreaking. At this point we start blaming ourselves. We don't understand what we did wrong, or why she abandoned us. But we have also gone all day without food, so we follow our scent to some kibble left out for dogs. This part is a little bit of a stealth section. Stay hidden from the dogs and make it to the food. None of these dogs smell us, but it's still a nice mix-up gameplay-wise. We make it without too much problem, and as we fill our stomachs, the dogs do in fact notice us, which promptly ends in them chasing us. This is another switch up in gameplay, a chase section. We have to avoid obstacles while the dog chases us, and we also get more snippets that show us just how scared we are. We run all the way back to Olive's house, trying to fight off the dog until both May and Olive come out. May brings the dog away, and Olive gives us some water and cuddles us. Is she finally realizing what's happening? Will she bring us in with her? Nope. She once again closes the door on us, saying that she already has a cat. Oh, Olive. That night we have a nightmare. We dream about the night Olive fell, and the emotions we had that we now feel guilty for. In the morning, the other Dawn jumps out the window, and we take that opportunity to fight her. We want our home back. But the commotion is alerting Olive, and she stops the fighting to go on a ride with us. This moment mirrors the start of the game, where we sat in the car, meowing to her. I thought this was a neat little touch, and it's why I expected she was now bringing us back to the shelter. But instead...
I can't have two cats. I don't know how long I'm going to be around. This place is better for you.
I'm sorry, what? She is dropping us off in the forest? She admits that she knew who we were this entire time. She only wanted to shirk off responsibility. But since we won't leave, she's dropping us off in the middle of the forest so that we won't come back to bother her. She justifies this by saying she won't be around much longer and that this place is better for us. There is so much wrong with this. My blood is boiling. We chase after her as she drives off, and we're even reminded of her swearing to protect us as she adopted us.
I give my full consent that my adopted cat will become a part of my life moving forward.
But we're now left abandoned and alone for good. I know what you are all thinking, and I promise I will talk about this, but we need to get to the end of the story for my point to really make sense, so bear with me until the end. It's not much further now. Having to fend for ourselves now, we make it to the park. There are a lot of things to interact with here and to explore, but our main goal is to find some food, and by the river we manage to hunt up some fish. This huge fish is somehow not enough for our greedy guts though, so after we finish it, we follow the scent of some other food, which leads us to a gang of street cats. Maybe this is a good opportunity to make friends, get some help to survive out here, but no, they don't like us at all and start a fight. They're mean looking too, with many scars and scratches. One of them is even blind. It shows pretty well how rough life as a street cat can be, and I do like that. We are banished back to the park, but we find a family we've seen earlier in the game and do another little stealth minigame to steal some of their food. Also, this is a little odd because we're meant to hide from the little boy, but he is clearly looking at us. It's very uncanny. No matter, we get the sausage and he finds us regardless. And I gotta be honest, this kid is the most reasonable character in the whole game. I don't know how old he is, but he is empathetic to our plight and shares his own woes with us until his mom chases us off. We contemplate throughout the night. Until the gang of cats comes back to chase us off for good. Quick side note here, there's a minigame where you fight the cats and it's timed. However, if you mess up, the time part just disappears. What's the point of putting it on a fake timer? There's no reward for doing it in time and no consequence for failing. It's a little odd, but not too important in the grand scheme of things. This time we win the fight, and now we're resolute. We want to confront Olive to tell her what she did was wrong. We are going back. Back home, instead of Olive, we find an auction sign. The house is empty, Olive is gone. And this leads to one of the darkest moments in the game.
Why are you sitting there? What are you doing, Dawn? Get out of the way. The road, Dawn? Watch the road!
Is this our past? It is. We see the history of our cat. Abandoned as a baby in the streets, picked up by a family to be given away as a Christmas present to a kid who didn't like us, picked up by a family whose dog hated us, And lastly, Olive.
Home is not certain, nor a guarantee, right, or entitlement. Home can be destroyed at any moment, and new roots must be laid. Home is not about things, places, or people. It's not about where you sleep, or used to sleep. It's none of that. Home is the place where you are needed most.
Home is the place where you are needed most? What? I highly disagree with that message. If you live in an abusive household and the abuser needs you, does that mean you're not allowed to leave because this is where you are needed? And the abuser could be anyone: a partner, a parent, a grandparent, or an irresponsible pet owner. There is so little nuance given here with this message that I'm genuinely not sure if the developers really thought about the message they're giving here. Who is this message for? And I'm not even done with my rant yet. I still have to talk about Olive abandoning us. But it will work better together with the ending, which is just ahead. We enter the empty house. All the furniture and personality of it is gone. Everything is empty and clean, no person inside. We do, however, find the original Dawn. She is sitting on the windowsill, almost as if she was waiting for us, and she gestures us to follow her. We walk across the neighborhood for a while until we reach the Sunnyside retirement home and find Olive and May sitting at the porch together. We get a choice here. The choice to leave or stay. Leaving means OG Dawn and I are off for good, and we only get to imagine what happens. But if instead you choose to stay, you actually get a little extra cutscene at the end. First, we see us in the dream version run around together, and a mention that our heart has found a home. And after the credits, we get a small scene of Olive and us together. Now we're both wearing collars, and we actually get our own unique name. We are not Dawn anymore, we are Sunrise. And thus the game ends, and my rant begins. This game tries really hard to tell a realistic story in which the people behave like real people. I actually appreciate that quite a bit. Issues aren't sugar-coated and people act irrational, bad and irresponsible. Olive misses her old cat and gets a new one that reminds her of her old one. I think we all understand why she did this. She gets overwhelmed and ashamed of her actions and abandons us in the forest. Now, this game being marketed towards cat lovers, I'm sure most of us would never do this, but this is something that happens. People abandon their pets outside all the time. Every action taken in this game mirrors something that real people struggle with. What the game fails at, however, is to deliver any sort of meaningful consequence or message about it. Instead, they do not only justify the bad behavior, they reward it. Olive gets her happy ending with both cats, and while that is nice for the conclusion of the game, the more I think about it, the less well it sits with me. Olive isn't a good pet owner, even if you ignore the outright abandonment. Her massive house has no scratching posts, no cat beds, she has a single toy she uses once or twice, and the football and litter box are just in the garage. And while that makes sense for those to be there in the beginning, she never once moves them once we grow more attached to her. Not to mention the original Dawn lived here before us too, and there are virtually no signs of that. We exist to help her loneliness and nothing else. And when she did abandon us, the game hammered that in hard. Every other scene we are reminded of the promise that Olive has made. We were reminded of the words spoken by her, how she'd always take care of us and how we would always have a home with her. Half of the final parts in the game were about Dawn, or Sunrise rather, building up the resolve to confront Olive. But all that is thrown out the window in an instant by saying, home is where you are needed most. And I guess Olive needs us because she's old and frail. I already asked, but who is this message for? Is this for the Maze Underworld who struggle taking care of their elders? This seems to be the only place where this message feels somewhat applicable. And if so, why are we, the abandoned cat, the ones held responsible for the shortcomings of the owner who couldn't take care of us? I know that in the real world, consequences aren't always a thing either, but it feels so off to constantly remind you how much Olive messed up, just to ignore it all by the end. I treated you like garbage, but you have to forgive me because I need you. It's such a shame, because otherwise this is a really cool game. The cat models look awesome, the environments are well done, the music and gameplay are fun. They're really good at telling a story as well, a realistic story, just with a not so amazing message at the end. They even nailed the family resemblance between Olive and May. I don't think many games do that well. I can only hope that Dawn and Sunrise live a happy life and are adopted by more caring people when Olive eventually passes away. From earlier posters, we know that Dawn is only 3 years old, and we can only guess how old Sunrise is. But both of them have a long life ahead of them. And that's it for Copycat. Cute game, I just wish the ending message was different. But it was fun to play nonetheless, and I appreciate the general storytelling of the game. Let me know what you think, and as always, thanks for watching.